Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Winterwolf Naruto Got Harem. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Here in the elemental nations in the land of fire, lies the ninja village known as Konoha, or the village hidden in the leaves. On the highest peak behind Konoha, a 4-year-old boy sits alone, enjoying the gentle breeze. He is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, a name he has come to resent due to the abandonment he feels from his family. This all began 2 years ago when his mother started to ignore him in favor of his 2 siblings. After 2 months, Naruto realized he no longer had a place in that family, but he still held on to hope. One thing to know about Naruto is that, despite his young age, he is incredibly intelligent. It wasn't difficult for him to piece together the past and understand how his parents favored his siblings. With his keen mind, he managed to unlock his chakra, hoping it would impress his parents, but his efforts were met with indifference. For some time now, a soft voice in his head has been calling to him, and the intervals between these calls have been growing shorter, the voice becoming more insistent. Lying on his back with his eyes closed, he reflects on the events of the past that he has gathered through whispers and documents he found in his father's office. 4 years ago, in the village hidden in the leaves, the 9-tailed fox was released from its seal and unleashed upon the village. The seal weakened as its host, known as a Jinchuriki, was giving birth. The woman in labor was Uzumaki Kushina, who welcomed 3 beautiful children into the world. The eldest, a boy named Naruto, the middle child, a girl named Mito, and the youngest, a boy named Menma. Naruto had bright blonde hair and striking blue eyes. Mito had lovely red hair and dark bluish-purple eyes with 3 whisker marks on each cheek, and Menma had dark red hair and pure purple eyes, also adorned with whisker marks. As Kushina gave birth, her husband, Namikaze Minato, the 4th Hokage, was there to protect her and keep the 9-tailed fox at bay. Late at night on the 10th of October, the triplets were born, and the family was filled with joy until Minato's focus wavered from the seal. Taking advantage of the moment, a masked man attacked, using his Sharingan to eliminate those guarding Kushina and her children. With the seal compromised, the masked man freed the 9-tailed fox, which began its rampage through the village. Kushina held Mito and Menma while Minato cradled Naruto. He rushed to Kushina, taking her hand as he used his Hiraishin jutsu to teleport them to their home. He kissed her and took the 2 youngest children, saying goodbye while entrusting her with their eldest. Kushina realized Minato's plan, to split the 9-tailed fox into its yin and yang halves and seal them within their youngest 2 children. She tried to protest, but he vanished before she could voice her concerns. As she fed Naruto, a bond formed between them, a connection of love and warmth. Minato arrived at the 9-tailed fox, placing a seal on its head before teleporting them away from the village. He laid Mito and Menma side by side on an altar, preparing for the sealing. Suddenly, the 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, appeared and intervened, acting a barrier to prevent Minato from returning. Sarutobi understood that Minato's plan would cost him his life, having just lost his own wife, who had been one of the nurses during Kushina's labor. He desired peace, and so he completed the seal himself, summoning the Shinigami, who divided the 9-tailed fox's soul and sealed 1 half in each child. Sarutobi wept, knowing he had sealed the halves of a powerful beast into innocent children. The Shinigami informed him it was time to go, and with a flash of light, they vanished. With the barrier lifted, Minato quickly returned to his children, checking the seals and finding Sarutobi had done an excellent job. He then teleported back home with Mito and Menma in his arms. Kushina was resting with Naruto, and Minato gently placed the 2 youngest beside her before laying Naruto in his cradle. "Kushina, dear, wake up. You still need to feed our youngest," he said softly. "Minato? How are you still here? I thought you were going to seal the 9-tailed fox into the 2, she replied, surprised. "I was, but Hiruzen intervened. He sealed the 9-tailed fox's halves into Mito and Menma, yin into Mito and yang into Menma." Both parents felt a pang of sorrow for the loss of the 3rd Hokage. "He wanted us to live, to raise our children together," Minato said, his voice calm yet tinged with sadness. He saved the entire village from the nine-tailed fox by sealing it away. He is a true hero. Kushina, with pride in her voice, said, "You're right, Minato. Hiruzen is a hero." Minato replied calmly, "So, Kushina, you need to feed the two." Kushina immediately picked up the twins, forming a bond that felt much stronger this time. After a moment, Minato joined them on the bed, momentarily forgetting about Naruto, who was peacefully sleeping nearby. As Naruto woke up, he stretched his young body before walking down Hokage Mountain towards his home, where he didn't even have a proper room. As he walked, he reflected on how foolish his family and the village were for failing to recognize the true attacker behind the chaos, the one who had set the nine-tailed fox free. Uchiha Obito was the real threat, controlling the fox with his Sharingan. It was obvious, he was the only Uchiha unaccounted for in the last 10 years and had only one eye like the attacker. His body had never been found. Naruto often returned home late, but it was clear his parents didn't care about him, nor did his so-called godparents, Jiraiya and Tsunade of the Sannin. He knew the real reason for their indifference was the prophecy Jiraiya had spoken of, claiming that the child of prophecy had been born. The prophecy read something like this: a child born on the 10th from blonde and red, wielding ancient powers, traversing the lands and guided by ancients, will either bring balance to the world or its destruction. The heart is the key, power's the door, and hope or despair lies beyond. A bunch of fools actually believed it was the power of the nine-tailed fox, but Naruto knew better. Wielding and using power were two very different concepts. Using a power not your own was far from mastering it. Besides, he didn't like his family. His siblings had already become arrogant from all the praise they received, and his parents had a choice regarding how to treat him, even with the prophecy hanging over their heads. Yet they still chose to neglect him. When he got home, he saw people everywhere, celebrating his siblings' birthday, the heroes of Konoha. It was also his birthday, but no one seemed to care. He decided not to enter the party, knowing there was nothing for him there. Instead, he used his considerable chakra reserves to walk up the wall and lay down on the roof under the partly cloudy sky. Listening to the festivities below only made him feel sickened by his family. He could hear the lavish but meaningless praise his siblings received from their parents and godparents. After a while, he heard Minato and Kushina quieting everyone for an announcement. Although he had an idea of what was coming, it was still a bitter pill to swallow when he heard his parents effectively disown him. Minato announced, "Everyone, thank you for coming to my children's birthday today. My wife and I have decided to make Menma the heir to the Namikaze clan." Kushina added, "And Mito the heir to the Uzumaki clan." Hearing them proclaim this so loudly struck a wound deep in his heart that would likely never heal. The cheers from his siblings, godparents, and various clans only deepened his pain. He got up and climbed down the wall to a storeroom where his belongings were kept. He retrieved an old storage scroll and packed everything he needed for his departure. Jumping out of the window, he made his way to the village center, stealthily breaking into shops to gather food, medical supplies, shuriken, kunai, and clothes. In less than 10 minutes, he was on his way out of the village via Hokage Mountain, a path he knew well. A voice in his head was guiding him clearly to its location. When the announcement was made, the voice had finally cleared up, urging him to hurry as time was running out. With no other plans, he gathered his belongings and set off. If Naruto had stayed longer on that roof, he would have noticed an eerie silence settling over the crowd, punctuated only by whispers. The villagers were grappling with a single question posed by one of the jounin close to the Hokage and his family. It would become a question that haunted them for years to come. The jounin asked, Hokage-sama?" Minato replied, "Yes." The jounin continued, What about your oldest? What about Naruto?" It had been a month since his birthday and leaving Konoha. So far, his journey had been perilous, relying mostly on sheer luck. There was even a time during the second week when he had to fend off 2 bandits, sustaining multiple cuts and bruises but ultimately overcoming them through sheer determination. It took him over a week to recover from his first encounter, despite how hard he had fought. Now, he stood on a shore, gazing out over the water toward a distant land he could barely see, knowing that whoever or whatever was calling him lay beyond. After resting for a couple of hours, he began building a raft, aware that his stamina wouldn't allow him to walk across the water. His chakra could sustain him, but his physical endurance could not. After an hour of hard work, he crafted a sturdy raft, pushed it into the water, climbed aboard with his meager belongings, and began his rough journey through the troubled waters that once belonged to Yuzushigakure. After 5 hours at sea, his raft finally reached the shore, and he crawled off, exhausted but grateful to be alive. After resting for half an hour, he managed to get to his feet and took some of his rations to eat alongside the remaining fresh water. After this month-long journey, it was clear that Naruto had become noticeably slimmer and more muscular in areas he had used frequently. Now that he had finally arrived, the voice was crystal clear, urging him onward toward the highest mountain in the land. It took another 3 hours of walking before he discovered the cave it had been leading him to. Inside, he found a colossal slab of an unknown material adorned with a complex seal. Puzzled, he stood there when the voice echoed in his mind once again. Blood is what the seal needs, child. Only then can it recognize you as an Uzumaki and grant you passage. After a moment of hesitation, he cut his palm slightly and smeared the blood onto the center of the seal, causing it to light up brightly, forcing him to close his eyes. When he opened them again, he found a tunnel leading deeper inside, and the colossal slab had vanished without a trace. Following the tunnel, he eventually reached a vast underground cavern. Upon entering, he was astonished to see mountains of riches, but what shocked him most was the enormous seal in the center of the room, housing the largest creature he had ever seen, a wolf that could easily stand alongside the faces of the Hokage on Hokage Mountain. Child, you have finally arrived. I no longer have much time. Just who? No, what are you? Naruto asked, his curiosity piqued. The creature slowly rose, speaking in a deep, ancient, yet majestic voice. I am immortal Zurius, the wolf of the White Winter. I am the one who called for you. You have done well to reach me despite your youth. I see, Naruto replied calmly. So you are the voice in my head. What did you summon me for all the way out here? I called you for 2 reasons, one of which you have already passed. Even now, I can feel the sword reacting to you. The other is something I wish to ask of you. What is it that you would call me so far from home for? And please, I have a name, it's Naruto. Very well, no. I have existed for a very long time, and during that time, I have only grown stronger, as all chakra beasts do. However, I have reached a limit with my physical body, and the only way around this is to become a tailed beast-like existence. Like the 9-tailed fox? Naruto questioned. Indeed. I can become a tailed beast on my own, but it would take years. This is where you come in. I need you to gather chakra steadily, which I will draw from you. With that chakra combined with my own, I will gradually shed my physical form and become this world's first naturally born tailed beast. I see. But why should I do this? Why should I trust you? I'm glad you didn't accept my request blindly. The seal surrounding me was placed by your ancestors, not only to keep me sealed away but also to select a compatible one for both myself and the sword. And you believe I am this compatible person? Indeed. You have not yet used chakra paper to see your affinities. I believe you possess a Kekii Toda. Otherwise, I wouldn't have felt your presence so strongly. It is something related to cold and winter, which is why I sensed you from such a distance. A Kekii Toda. I see. Well, if that's the case, let us begin. There's no use in idling after coming all this way. Indeed. Let us begin. With that, Zurius taught him the shadow clone jutsu first, so they could start gathering chakra. After creating the clones, Naruto was instructed to take the ancient blade from its stand, which he did. As he grasped the blade, he felt a small piece of his soul connect with it. Once that was complete, Naruto was told to sit cross-legged with the blade across his lap to enter what would later be known as Jinzen. This term would come to signify the process of his blade's birth. Thus began the long and arduous journey, one of a beast's ascension and another of the awakening of his blade for eternal companionship and greater strength. Hours turned into days, days into weeks, and weeks into months, filled only with silence in the cavern. After 6 months, Zurius completed his ascension and released a roar that resonated throughout the elemental nations, especially among the 9 original tailed beasts, who were astonished to sense another of their kind, yet different. Naruto, too, awoke from his long session of Jinzen, which had yielded remarkable results. His Zanpakuto spirit had formed, though it was still in its infancy. Looking up, he saw Zurius, now more ethereal, surrounded by floating ice particles. I see you have awakened, Naruto. Thanks to you, I have achieved my dream of ascension. Now, I believe we can move on to the final part of our time together. What do you mean, Zurius? Naruto asked, intrigued. I mean, I will be fusing myself with the spirit of your Zanpakuto to create an entirely new spirit that houses all my knowledge of ninjutsu, taijutsu, and weapon handling. But if you do that, you will cease to exist. After all the effort you've put into becoming a tailed beast. I know, Naruto, but this is my way of both helping and rewarding you for what you have done for me. Don't forget, Naruto, Zurius said, his voice steady. I have lived for a long time, and now that my dream is fulfilled, I can finally transition to another form. I won't be gone, I will simply exist as a different entity. Naruto took a moment to gather himself, his voice calm. If that is your wish, I will not stop you. Just know that even in your absence, you will remain in my memories as immortal Zurius, Wolf of the White Winter. Zurius chuckled lightly, a pleased tone in his voice. That is more than I could have hoped for, no? Well then, shall we? All right then, Naruto replied, his voice steady. Stab your sword into the ground and place your hand atop the hilt. I will place my paw over yours. Just know, Naruto, this will be painful as your soul must grow stronger to accommodate mine within this new Zanpakuto spirit. I am as ready as I will ever be, Zurius. Enduring pain for a lifelong companion is worth it, Naruto said, determination in his voice. Wise words, Naruto. To our shared life from now on. To a shared life. Let us begin. With that, Naruto placed his hand on the sword's hilt, and Zurius rested his paw on Naruto's hand, initiating their merger. At first, Naruto felt nothing, but soon the freezing cold chakra began to seep into his body, little by little. As minutes turned to hours, Naruto's face grew pale, contorted in pain, yet he remained silent, enduring the intense discomfort. By the end of the first day, he was drifting between consciousness and unconsciousness, the pain overwhelming as his body began to shut down in an attempt to escape it. By the second day, only a sliver of his consciousness remained, but he held on to hope as the pain began to lessen. He couldn't tell if this was a sign of the merger nearing completion or if he was approaching the end. As the third day came to a close, Naruto slowly started to regain his senses. The pain had diminished enough for him to open his eyes and lift his head. What he saw shocked him. Zurius, who had been with him all this time, was now mostly transparent, with only his outline visible. Naruto, you have regained yourself at last, Zurius said, his voice calm but faint. Well done. Your body and soul are finally ready to complete our merger. Zurius, we aren't done yet? Naruto asked, his voice soft with surprise. No, Naruto. Everything that has happened so far was to prepare you for what comes next. This final stretch will be more painful than what you have experienced, but it will be brief. Are you ready to endure one last time? Naruto took deep breaths to steady himself, his voice resolute. I am Zurius. But now enter Jinzen, and we shall begin the final merger. Following Zurius's instructions, Naruto struggled to sit in a lotus position, the residual pain still coursing through his body. Once settled, he placed his Zanpakuto across his lap, closed his eyes, and focused. He felt Zurius's paw on the Zanpakuto and his head gently resting against Naruto's. In the next moment, an overwhelming wave of pain surged from within as his Zanpakuto grew heavier and colder. After a few seconds, Naruto sensed Zurius's presence fade, replaced by an even more intense surge of pain that caused him to lose consciousness. We find ourselves in the land of the former Uzushiogakure beneath the highest mountain, in a large cavern that was once sealed away from the world. Here lies Naruto, beginning to regain consciousness after 12 hours of being unconscious during the final merger. Naruto groaned in pain. Where am I? Oh right, I was merging my soul with Zurius's for my Zanpakuto spirit. Looks like it succeeded. After resting for a few moments, Naruto managed to sit upright. He was surprised to find a beautiful blue katana in place of his former weapon. Moving closer, he picked up the katana and admired its simple beauty before sitting in a lotus position and entering Jinzen. As Naruto marveled at the scenery of his inner world, someone sneaked up behind him, carrying a large icy scythe. They closed the distance before lunging forward, casting the scythe to the ground and enveloping Naruto in a warm embrace. Naruto was taken aback. One moment he was admiring the beautiful landscape, and the next he was caught in a hug from an unknown woman. Turning his head, he saw the face of an ethereal beauty smiling gently at him. After releasing him, Naruto turned to see her properly and was astonished by her beauty. Yufu. Hello, my child. You have finally come here. I have been waiting for you, she said playfully. Are you? Naruto replied, surprised. Indeed I am. But first you must leave for a bit, okay? And remember to call my name. It is. When Naruto closed his eyes for a moment and opened them again, he found himself back in the cavern. Taking a moment to calm himself, he stood up, placed his Zanpakuto in its sheath, and took an IAI stance, speaking the name of his partner for life. Smother the lands. Eternal winter. As he finished speaking, his Zanpakuto and its sheath glowed faintly blue before transforming into a pair of sharp sickles. Holding the two sickles up to his face, he noticed they were perfectly identical and incredibly sharp. While admiring them, he heard his Zanpakuto's voice in his head, filled with her usual playful tone. Yufu. Beautiful, aren't they? But you know they aren't just for admiring. Prepare yourself, my child. All of the knowledge I have inherited will now be transferred to you. Before he could react, a wave of knowledge surged through his mind, causing him to drop to his knees, gasping for air. By the time it finished, Naruto felt as if 1,000 turtles were repeatedly dropping onto his head. Yufu. Come, my child. Rest for now. Because starting tomorrow, I will be training you hard. Despite his usual calm demeanor, Naruto felt a shiver of apprehension at her words. He knew that the days ahead would be challenging. Deciding to follow her advice, he laid out his somewhat tattered bedding. As he settled down, he noticed something on his waist that was uncomfortable. He got up to remove his remaining ninja gear, but even after doing so, something still bothered him. When he looked closer, he was shocked by what he saw. All the brown hair on his head and tail had turned blonde, with blue tips on the white parts. What the heck? Why do I have a tail now? He exclaimed. My child, it's not just a tail, you know, she teased. Naruto felt the top of his head moving erratically. It couldn't be. There really are ears. You need rest now, my child. You wouldn't want tomorrow to be worse, right, being exhausted? Feeling intimidated by her subtle threat, Naruto decided to put it aside and go to sleep. Tomorrow would be tough, so he might as well accept it and move on. By the next morning, Naruto was well rested and had already begun his basic training or torture, as some might call it. Scene change, back in Konoha. Time, 7 months ago and onwards. It was a week after Konoha celebrated the birthday of 2 out of 3 of the Hokage's children, and things were not looking good. That very night, after the festivities were cut short by a single question, Minato and his wife, Kushina, began searching for their oldest child, hoping to mend the bond they had carelessly neglected for years. The more they searched, the more worried they became. This isn't possible. It just can't be. Naruto, my son, doesn't even have a room in our house. If he doesn't even have a room, then where does he sleep? What has he been eating? Minato said, hitting the wall in frustration. Hearing the strike, Kushina approached Minato, holding the family photo album with a pale face. We don't even have photos of him, she said, breaking down in tears. We have to find him. There is no way I will let my son sleep on the streets anymore. Boo! Minato shouted. As he called for them, multiple ANBU members entered the house and knelt before their Hokage. Find Naruto. Whatever it takes, find my son. Minato commanded. Nodding, the ANBU set off to find traces of the Hokage's son, leading to multiple clans in Konoha joining the search. By dawn, traces of Naruto were found all over the village at various stores he had broken into, but after that, no more signs of him appeared within Konoha. Frustrated, Minato ordered his shinobi to search outside the village for any sign of Naruto, but nothing was found in any direction of the nearby countries. After a month had passed with no leads, hope began to fade for the Hokage and his wife. One morning, Jiraiya of the Sannin returned to the Hokage with a piece of children's clothing covered in blood. No. It couldn't be his. Minato trembled, his voice filled with dread. Umbu, please take this to be checked if it belongs to Naruto. Jiraiya, with a heavy heart, said, Minato, I am sorry. Minato, looking lost, replied, just where? To the east. In the middle of bandit country. Jiraiya informed him. Minato collapsed into his seat, his head in his hands, tears streaming down his face. My own son despises me enough to leave. Now I will probably never have the chance to fix this. As Minato cried, Jiraiya could only pat him on the back, knowing he had contributed to this situation by advising Minato and Kushina to focus on Menma and Mito. A knock on the door pulled Minato from his despair. He allowed the visitor to enter. It was a member of Konoha's research division, come to deliver a report. Worried voice, report. Minato urged. Serious voice, Hokage-sama, we have confirmed that this indeed belongs to Naruto. However, only a small amount of the blood is his. We believe he may have defended himself, as nearly 98% of the blood is not his. Is this true? Minato exclaimed, hope igniting in his voice. Jiraiya, I hereby order you, as Hokage, to take some of the Umbu and search the eastern part of our country. Find my son. All right. Jiraiya replied, though doubt lingered in his tone. Meanwhile, at the Hokage's residence, Menma and Mito were trying to lift Kushina's spirits. She had stopped caring for herself, guilt eating away at her. A small seed of resentment towards Naruto began to grow in Menma and Mito's hearts, as they believed he was responsible for their mother's current state. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. By the time 7 months had passed, Minato and Kushina had nearly lost hope of seeing their eldest child again. They began to focus their efforts on their remaining 2 children, hoping they could one day bring their brother back. With all the attention and training they received, Menma and Mito grew increasingly arrogant, believing they were destined for greatness as the children of prophecy. Their status as the Hokage's children only fueled their disdain for others. 3 years later, Konoha's intelligence division began receiving reports of a young shinobi bounty hunter. What was peculiar about this bounty hunter was that he never spoke, only accepting bandit extermination requests and completing them within a day, returning with his victims' heads, their faces reflecting despair and terror. By the 4th year, a shocking revelation put Konoha on edge. The young bounty hunter was seen carrying the head of Aoi Rokusho, a former Konoha jounin who had gone rogue after stealing the legendary Sword of the Thunder God. A picture of him was placed in the bingo book, showing only his eyes and mixed blonde hair. In the 5th year, bandit groups and rogue ninjas alike trembled at the mention of him. After all his hunts, he earned an alias in the bingo book, accompanied by a flea-on-sight order. He became known as the Winter Wolf, the most feared bounty hunter, striking terror into the hearts of many. At the end of the 5th year, all reports of his activities ceased, causing major countries and ninja villages to grow anxious, for a shinobi of such strength does not simply vanish. Scene change, Naruto POV. After 5 years of absence, Naruto stood once more before the gates of Konoha, ready to establish his own clan using his unique abilities as a foundation. Over the years, he had transformed into a strikingly handsome 9-year-old boy, capable of melting hearts despite his wolf-like features. In fact, these features added to his charm. Naruto had also abandoned his old surname, no longer part of the Namikaze Uzumaki clan that had disowned him. He now went by Kajizum Naruto, and his clan would embody the name, offering a gentle touch to those in need and fierce protection to those who deserved it. After surveying the surroundings, he approached the gate guards and decided to sit next to the booth, leaning against it with his eyes closed and his sword resting on his lap, patiently waiting for the guards to awaken and notice him. 3 hours passed as Naruto sat quietly, entering a meditative state. Within that time, 3 days had gone by in his mind, filled with the sounds of weapons clashing as he and Winter engaged in a fierce training battle. This was one of the ways Winter chose to challenge him, though it often felt like torture. Regardless, it forged an unbreakable bond between them, strengthening each time they faced off. To Naruto, Winter had become a wise yet playful older sister he could always rely on, and to Winter, Naruto was the ideal younger brother she could spoil whenever she wished. After another half-hour, Naruto concluded their battle within and sensed that the guards had awakened. He bid farewell to Winter with a hug and left his inner world. As he stood up next to the guard booth, the two guards, Izumo and Kotetsu, startled and drew their kunais, not realizing he was there. After a tense moment, they recognized him as just a child and lowered their weapons. "Yeah, kid, what do you want?" Izumo asked, his voice questioning. "And don't startle us like that," Kotetsu added, a hint of annoyance in his tone. Naruto replied calmly, "First, please stop calling me kid. My name is Kajitsum Naruto. And second, you were sleeping on the job. I've been next to the booth meditating for 3 hours already." Izumo, nervous voice, we were just resting our eyes for a bit, you know." Naruto, calm voice, "Anyway, can I enter the village now?" Kotetsu, calm voice, "Quickly fill in this form and you're good to go, though you will have to go to the Hokage's office for a permanent permit to stay in the village." Naruto, fills in the form, calm voice, "Here you go." Izumo, calm voice, "Let me guide you to the Hokage's office." Naruto, calm voice, "It's fine, I know my way around the village." Kotetsu, suspicious voice, "You've been in the village before?" Naruto, calm voice, "Well, yeah, I was born here after all." Izumo, calm voice, "Well, welcome back in that case." Naruto, calm voice, "Thanks, I'll be going now." Scene change, Konoha gate guards. A couple of minutes after Naruto left, Izumo noticed Kotetsu deep in thought. Before he could ask what was on his mind, he saw Kotetsu rush into the guard booth and pull out the bingo book. Flipping through it quickly, he stopped at a page near the end showing Naruto's picture. When he recognized who it was, he turned pale. Izumo, seeing this, became worried. Izumo, worried voice, "Kotetsu, what's gotten into you all of a sudden?" Kotetsu, worried voice, "It was him, Izumo. It was the Winter Wolf." Shows Naruto's page to Izumo, who turns pale. Izumo, worried voice, "Keep guarding the gate. I'm going to report to the Hokage right now." Scene change, Naruto. With that finished, Naruto finally re-entered his birth village after 5 years, noticing that some things had changed while others remained the same. As he walked, his sensitive nose caught an absolutely wonderful scent, prompting him to follow it. After a casual 10-minute stroll, he arrived at a street-side shop called Ichiraku Ramen, where the mouth-watering aroma wafted through the air. Walking through the fabric dividers, he sat down on one of the chairs and decided to order a regular serving to test the taste of the place. After taking the first bite, Naruto knew he had found his personal heaven. He could even hear Winter giggling in his head at his reaction. Quickly finishing the bowl, he realized it simply wasn't enough, so he ordered 5 more bowls, much to the owner's shock. Scene change, Hokage Tower. It was another busy day at the Hokage Tower, with people walking in and out constantly. At the top of the building was the Hokage's office, where inside, the Hokage was battling against his arch-nemesis, the endless paperwork. One of the reasons he was working so hard was to finish early and be at home with his wife and remaining children. Even now, they hadn't gotten over Naruto leaving and the things they had done and should have done. As he worked, a series of rapid but loud knocks echoed through the room. Voice, enter. Izumo, out of breath. Respectful voice, Hokage. Minato, serious voice, catch your breath first. Izumo, takes a few deep breaths to steady himself. Respectful voice, this is too urgent, Hokage. One of the bingo book entries has entered the village. Minato, shocked voice, what? Which one? Izumo, respectful voice, sir. It was the. Minato, serious voice, the. Common, spit it out. Izumo, worried voice, the Winter Wolf. Minato, jumps up from his chair, shocked and worried voice, What? Izumo, respectful voice. But what he said is something that bothers me. He said he was born here. Minato, shocked voice. Impossible. There is no other blonde shinobi born. Village. As Minato spoke, a mix of emotions welled up within him as he considered the possibilities. Minato. Serious voice. Umbu. Several Umbu immediately kneel in front of him, find him, but under no circumstances attempt to fight him until I arrive and ascertain if what I suspect is right. Receiving their orders, the Umbu immediately moved around the village in search of Naruto. Scene change. Naruto. While chaos unfolded in the Hokage Tower, Naruto was busy with his 20th bowl of ramen at Ichiraku's. When he finished, he pulled out his money to count it, but before he could finish, he was interrupted by the sound of 2 kids and a red-haired woman entering, much to his annoyance. No, soft but annoyed voice. Now I have to begin again from the start. Scene change. Kushina Uzumaki. In the house of the Hokage, Kushina Uzumaki sat staring out of the window, still haunted by the events of that fateful night 5 years ago, the night she felt she had severed her bond with her eldest son. Just thinking of it brought tears to her eyes, as the weight of her actions and regrets loomed over her. As she tried to remember moments with Naruto, she heard the front door open and slam shut as her 2 youngest rushed toward her for a hug. The only reason she hadn't completely collapsed was that she still had 2 children who needed her. Looking at them, she couldn't help but wonder what it would have been like if Naruto were there as well. Shaking herself from her thoughts, she asked the 2 if they wanted some ramen, to which they cheered in excitement. After a bit, she was ready, and they set off for Ichiraku Ramen to enjoy some good food. When they arrived, she noticed another customer counting money, disturbed by their entrance. As she looked at the customer's back to apologize, her world turned upside down upon seeing the blonde hair of the boy in front of her. No, soft but annoyed voice. Now I have to begin again from the start. Kushina, trembling voice. And Naruto? When the boy didn't turn around, she was about to call him again but suddenly noticed several Umbu gathering nearby. Looking around, she spotted her husband Minato and a couple of Umbu heading toward the store, all of them focused intently on the boy. Kushina, worried voice. Minato? What's going on? Minato, serious voice. Kushina, please take the kids away from here. Kushina, worried voice. No, let one of the Umbu take them. I'm staying here. You feel it too, don't you? Minato, calm but worried voice. Okay then. Bor, please take the children home and return quickly. As Umbu Bor took the 2 away, much to their displeasure, Minato turned his attention back to Naruto. Minato, serious voice. Winter Wolf. What are you doing in Konoha? Naruto turns around to face them, much to the shock of Minato and Kushina. Calm voice. It's not like I've been banished from the village, am I? Minato, trembling voice. Just what is your name? As Hokage, I command you to tell me. Naruto, calm voice. My name is Kajitsum. Naruto. Upon hearing his name, Minato turned pale, and Kushina broke down in tears. Naruto, calm voice. Now then, if you don't mind, I still have to file the papers for my clan's establishment and apply for a temporary apartment. I will also need to file my papers for the academy. Kushina, trembling voice. Naruto, wait, please wait. Naruto, calm voice. What is it, Lady Kushina? Hearing her oldest call her, that was enough of a shock for her to faint, but before she could hit the ground, Minato caught her, snapping out of his shock. Minato, sad but resolute voice. Naruto, you can't create a new clan. You are still a part of the Namikaze Uzumaki clan and our family. Naruto, annoyed voice. No, I am not. You disowned me, remember? And as part of your family? Don't make me laugh. You and your wife never considered me part of your family. Minato, sad but confused voice. What? Naruto, we never disowned you. Naruto, calm but annoyed voice. Oh really? Konoha Laws, Law 573, Section 9 Verse. When the younger siblings are named heir of the family and none is in opposition, then the former heiress is by default considered inept and immediately disowned from the clan. Still think you didn't disown me? Minato, confused, scared voice. What? But that isn't possible, it just can't be possible. Naruto, calm voice. Good day to you then, Minato Namikaze Uzumaki and Kushina Namikaze Uzumaki, but I have matters to attend to now. With that, Naruto turned around and left the Hokage, his wife, and all the Umbu present still in shock over what had just happened. By the end of the day, Naruto had secured lodging in a medium-class hotel, successfully enrolled in the academy for the following day, and purchased land in Konoha to build his own personal clan compound. Tomorrow, after the academy, he would meet with builders to construct a proper home for him and his clan in the future. It was the following day, and we find Naruto up early, busy doing his morning exercises before he left the inn and went for a morning run around the village several times. Of course, all of this was done with over 24 restraint seals on various places on his young body. It was unfortunate he couldn't use gravity seals yet, as it would hamper his growth, and he certainly didn't want to be short. After finishing his morning run, he returned to the inn for breakfast, but just as he was about to eat, he caught a strange smell in the food. Deciding to call the waiter over, he immediately asked what had been put into his food and by whom. Naruto, deadly voice, I will ask you once. Who poisoned my food? Answer, or I will make sure everyone in this building regrets it. Waiter, scared voice, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. Naruto, angry voice, call the inn's manager now. Waiter, scared voice, wait. After saying that, the waiter rushed off to call the inn's manager and returned a couple of minutes later with an arrogant-looking man. From the very first moment Naruto saw him, he could tell this was one of the culprits. Wasting no time, he grabbed the man's collar and lifted him off the ground. Naruto, angry voice, now tell me who gave you the order to poison my food. Manager, scared yet arrogant voice, no one. Naruto, angry voice, don't play games with me. Tell me and I might let you live. Manager, scared voice. It was the shop owner on the central street that sells medicinal supplies. He's angry at you for the things you took 5 years ago. The chef of our inn doesn't know about the poison because I dropped it into your food. Naruto, calm but angry voice. In that case, you can face the consequences. With a swift motion, Naruto ended the man's life and dropped him to the ground. Looking over to the frightened waiter, he merely gave him a look before heading to his room to gather his belongings. After collecting his things, he left the inn and proceeded straight toward the central street and the shop of the man who had ordered his demise. When he arrived, he noticed the shop was quite busy, with people moving in and out. Naruto went straight to the counter in the back to ask for the owner. Naruto, calm but serious voice, bring the shop owner here and do not mention me. Or I will ensure you regret it. BBC, scared voice, yes sir. A few minutes later, the shop owner walked out from the back, appearing arrogant but visibly paling the moment he laid eyes on Naruto. No, calm but angry voice, what's the matter, shopkeeper? You look like you've seen a ghost. Or could it be you weren't expecting me so early in the morning? After all, according to your plans, I should have been gone by now. Now then, let's finish this up so I can get to the academy. Shopkeeper, scared voice, stay away from me. I'm sorry, okay? Before he could continue, Naruto used body flicker to get behind him and swiftly ended his life, dropping the body to the ground under the terrified gazes of the surrounding civilians. After dealing with the troublesome shopkeeper, Naruto left the shop and headed toward the academy. 15 minutes later, Naruto arrived at the academy, only to realize he was an hour early. He decided to go to his classroom, where he sat in the last row in the corner by the window, and began to meditate while concealing his presence. Naruto could feel the surrounding nature chakra and sensed that the time for his personal, sage mode, awakening was approaching. He knew that once he awakened his sage mode, his strength would reach incredible heights, granting him virtually limitless chakra. This would allow him to train and experiment with his Kekkei Todo winter release for much longer than he could with his already substantial reserves. Currently, Naruto's chakra reserves were 4 times greater than that of the Hokage, his father. As an hour passed, some early students began to arrive, yet none sensed Naruto's presence. The classroom filled up from the front, but Naruto remained unresponsive to the noise, continuing his meditation. Among the students, only 2 noticed him. One was a boy with black hair styled like a pineapple, and the other was a girl with blue-black hair and lavender eyes, who was blushing and seemed overwhelmed by his presence. A few minutes later, a boy with raven-black hair and a brooding expression entered and took a seat near the door. Shortly after, another boy wearing a cloak and sunglasses, who was very quiet, sat next to Naruto. Then, Naruto's two younger siblings entered, surrounded by their fans and bragging loudly, while the brooding boy was being approached by his admirers. Suddenly, two girls burst through the door, arguing over who would sit next to the raven-haired boy, causing quite a commotion. Once things settled down, another loud boy entered, wearing a fur-collared jacket with a puppy on his head. The puppy began to growl, prompting the boy to sniff the air. "Hey, who's here?" he shouted, silencing the room and drawing everyone's attention. After scanning the room, he finally spotted Naruto in the back corner. "Hey, who are you?" Just as he was about to continue, their teacher, Umino Irika, walked in and quieted the class. Once everyone was silent, he called out to Naruto, surprising many who hadn't even noticed him. Opening his eyes, Naruto surveyed the classroom, sighed in disappointment, and then walked to the front, revealing his wolf ears and tail, which amazed the other students. "Irika, now then class, we have a new student joining us today. Please welcome him, even though he joined us a year late. Why don't you introduce yourself?" "My name is Kajitsum Naruto, and that's all you need to know," he replied. "Okay then. Be nice to him, everyone," Irika said. As Naruto returned to his seat, he could hear various whispers. Some considered him strange, some girls thought he was attractive, while a few boys wanted to challenge him for his apparent arrogance. Ignoring it all, he settled back into his meditation. After a long and tedious morning of theoretical lessons, it was time for some practical training outside. When they arrived at the academy's training ground, Naruto found it quite basic compared to the advanced training areas in the former Uzushiogakure. After a brief lecture on the day's activities, Irika asked Naruto to demonstrate his skills so he could assess his level. Standing still, Naruto casually threw his shuriken and then kunai at the targets. The class initially laughed at his apparent lack of skill but fell silent as the kunai struck the center of each target, with the shuriken landing perfectly above them. Using chakra strings, he pulled back every weapon he had thrown, much to everyone's amazement, and stored them back into his sleeve, thanks to modified storage seals tattooed on his arm that made no sound or smoke when opened. "Wow, Naruto, that was amazing. Now follow me to the ring so I can test your taijutsu," Irika said. Naruto nodded and followed Irika into the taijutsu ring, taking up an unusual stance that seemed to have multiple openings. After signaling readiness, Irika attacked Naruto, aiming for one of the openings. To his surprise, Naruto's stance shifted, and before Irika could react, he was met with a swift counterattack that nearly knocked him off balance. Barely dodging, Irika quickly created some distance and studied Naruto, who had resumed his stance. "Naruto, what is your taijutsu style called?" "I don't recognize it," Irika asked, curiosity in his voice. "Winter's Ice style, it's self-created," Naruto replied calmly. "That's amazing, Naruto. I've got what I need and will discuss with the other teachers about how to teach you," Irika said, pleased. Naruto nodded again and then turned to a corner of the training area, choosing not to engage with anyone else, much to their surprise. When he arrived, he settled into a lotus position with his zanpakuto resting on his lap and entered a meditative state until the end of the day, much to the confusion of those around him. By the day's end, everyone else was exhausted from their rigorous training sessions. However, for Naruto, this level of exertion seemed almost trivial. As just 3 years prior, he had endured far more demanding workouts multiple times a day. After sheathing his zanpakuto, he stood up and walked out of the academy alongside the other students who were waiting for their parents. Upon reaching the gate, he spotted a large group of parents eagerly scanning the crowd for their children. Among them were his mother and father, who looked around anxiously. To avoid the crowd, he approached the nearest wall and began to walk up it. By the time he reached the top, both of his parents had noticed him and were about to call out when he used a quick movement technique to vanish from sight, leaving them behind with a sense of disappointment. Once he left the academy, he sought out some builders to start constructing his new house on the land he had acquired. After finishing up there, he decided to take a leisurely stroll under the moonlight, enjoying the various sounds and scents of the night before finally heading to a new inn, as he obviously wouldn't be returning to his previous one. After checking in, he made his way to his assigned room, secured the entrances, and settled down to sleep after placing some temporary alarm seals. It's been 3 years since he returned to Konoha and entered the academy to become a proper ninja. During this time, many things have happened, but some of the most significant would probably be the fact that he finally managed to make some friends, few in number, yet true friends. Another important milestone was that he not only achieved Bankai but also awakened his Sage mode, granting him virtually endless chakra and significantly strengthening his body. He had also started using gravity seals in place of some of his resistance seals. In the first 6 months, his new house was completed, and he promptly placed an impressive number of seals to form a giant multi-layer defensive array to protect himself and his future clan. Behind his house was an extensive training area equipped with every possible requirement he could think of. Naturally, the entire perimeter was marked with seals and incorporated into the defensive array. However, not everything was perfect. One negative aspect of the past 3 years was that his siblings discovered he was their older brother and that he had been disowned. For some strange reason, they now viewed him as a lowly servant and tried everything to make him serve them. Another issue was his parents, who were determined to bring him back, even going so far as to interfere with his clan's establishment to get him back into their family home. This created serious tension between him and his siblings, who believed it was his fault for the pain their mother and father suffered years ago. They regularly insulted him and tried to get him into trouble with the teachers. He also had serious issues with Uchiha Sasuke, the brooding figure who seemed to think that the world revolved around him and that everyone should honor him as the so-called last Uchiha. Sasuke even went so far as to demand that Naruto hand over his Zanpakuto, claiming he could use the blade better for his revenge. So, you could say it had been a rather busy 3 years. Luckily, his monotonous life was about to change, as today was the graduation exam day, and he would soon be able to take on missions, though he would have to do so with a team. After entering the classroom early, as usual, he settled into his spot in the back corner by the window, a territory established among the students that no one, not even his siblings, dared to take from him. After an hour of peace and quiet, as he entered a meditative state, he began to hear his classmates arriving one by one or in groups, taking their seats. His teacher, Irika, entered right after, using his signature big head jutsu to silence the class. Once the class was settled, Irika explained what would happen today. They would first take a written test, then move to the yard for basic shuriken, kunai, and taijutsu tests, and finally return inside to perform the basic academy 3 jutsu. In the written test, Naruto finished far earlier than the rest and entered a meditative state again, much to the dismay and jealousy of his teacher and classmates, especially his siblings. In the yard, Naruto's results were, as expected, top of the class. His siblings and their fans, along with Sasuke's supporters, accused him of cheating and demanded he redo the tests. In response, Naruto simply shrugged and proceeded to do it another 5 times in quick succession, achieving perfect marks each time, silencing his critics. Now, they were in the classroom waiting to be called for the final test one by one. As usual, his siblings were bragging and making noise about how they were the best and would one day rule over all. By the time it was Naruto's turn, most of the class had already finished, leaving only him and a handful of others. As he walked out of the classroom, he could hear the sneers from his siblings and knew they must have planned something foolish again. When he reached the testing room, he immediately recognized their scheme, which only amused him. They had just given him the perfect opportunity. Mizuki, with a fake smile and a pleasant voice, said, "Ah, Naruto, it's your turn now, is it? All right, do the 3 academy jutsu and you will pass. But since your level is so much higher than the rest of the students, why don't you do it without hand signs for extra marks?" Naruto shrugged and replied calmly, "Sure, why not?" As Naruto easily performed the jutsu, Mizuki's scowl deepened, but he smirked when a large explosion of smoke erupted behind Naruto, and a pair of arms suddenly pinned him to the ground. When the smoke cleared, the figure revealed was Orochimaru, one of the Sannin, holding Naruto down. Mizuki, with a mocking tone, exclaimed, "We've got you now, brat. Lord Orochimaru has been planning this for a long time to get his hands on you, the outcast of the Namikaze Uzumaki household. Orochimaru, with a pleased voice, said, "You've done well, Mizuki. I'll upgrade your curse seal as a reward." Mizuki, filled with happiness, replied, "Thank you very much, Lord Orochimaru." However, he failed to notice the cold sneer on Orochimaru's face. His joy was shattered when Naruto began to laugh out loud, causing Mizuki to frown in displeasure. Before Mizuki could say anything, he saw Orochimaru release Naruto, much to his confusion. Freed, Naruto turned to one of the classroom's ceiling corners where he knew ANBU members were hiding and called out to them. "That should be enough evidence, right? Or do you want me to take him down and then bring him to the torture and interrogation department?" One of the NBU replied calmly, "That won't be necessary. We will take it from here." Naruto responded, Sure. Anyway, foolish Mizuki, Orochimaru tried that plan during the 3 years I was here already. Too bad he managed to escape, otherwise, I would have collected his head for a nice bounty. Yes, let me take care of that troublesome seal of yours first, so you won't cause any problems later on. Before Mizuki could react, Naruto's clones appeared behind him and pinned him to the floor, exposing his shoulder where Orochimaru's cursed mark was located. Naruto bit his finger lightly to draw blood and then channeled his chakra through it, performing the necessary hand signs with ease. He placed 2 fingers on the seal, making sure only the tips made contact. As he injected his chakra into the seal, he turned his hand counterclockwise, unlocking it and causing the seal to spread across Mizuki's body. Good, now that the outer locks are disabled, I can extract this from you, Naruto said calmly. Mizuki's face turned pale as he realized the pain that was about to come. Ignoring Mizuki's fearful expression, Naruto retrieved a scroll from his storage and placed its blank page over the seal, face down. After completing the hand signs, he began transferring the seal from Mizuki's body to the blank storage scroll. As the process unfolded, the air was filled with Mizuki's anguished cries, echoing throughout the academy and even reaching the Hokage tower. In the next classroom, the students looked as pale as ghosts, listening to Mizuki's screams. Naruto's siblings were particularly worried, fearing that Naruto was harming Mizuki because of their earlier orders. Just as the transfer neared completion, a chilling scream escaped Mizuki, startling even the nearby NBU who were observing the process. Naruto, with a mocking tone, exclaimed, "There's the snake traitor! Time to eliminate another piece of your soul." Minato, observing Naruto's calm demeanor in the face of such unsettling events, could only stare in amazement, feeling a sense of disturbance himself. Naruto regarded the soul fragment before him with composure, and suddenly everyone in the room heard the sound of his Zanpakuto being sheathed, followed by a chilling howl from Orochimaru's soul fragment. This howl was one of pure anguish as the fragment was shattered and began to fade away. The onlookers were taken aback, witnessing the first instance of a soul being severed by a sword, especially since Naruto's movements were so swift that no one saw him swing. Rising to his feet, Naruto cast a final mocking smirk at the now unconscious Mizuki before approaching the desk where the forehead protectors were kept. He rummaged through the box until he found a blue one. Tying the forehead protector around his neck, he casually exited the classroom, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Just as he was about to step through the door, Minato called out to him. "Naruto, please stop." Minato said, his voice serious. "What?" Naruto replied, slightly annoyed. "What did you just do?" Minato asked, his tone nervous. "I took my exam, dealt with a traitor, and eliminated another piece of the snake's soul. The curse seal is in the scroll I left behind." Naruto explained calmly. Minato sighed sadly, realizing Naruto had no intention of discussing things with him or any of his family. "All right then. You can go. Good job on handling the traitor." Naruto said nothing and simply left the room, heading to his class to enter a meditative state and recover from his mental fatigue. Upon reaching his classroom, he sensed that everyone was aware of the earlier events, and more than half of them were now quite frightened of him. Many were still unconscious from fainting earlier, while the remaining students, mostly from shinobi clans, regarded him with caution. Ignoring the stares, he walked back to his seat, sat down, and entered his meditative state to spend time with his favorite older sister. After about 2 hours, Iruka entered with a serious expression and began explaining that Mizuki was a traitor and a spy for Orochimaru, shocking everyone. After finishing his explanation, he thanked Naruto for stopping Mizuki before he could cause any real harm. Naruto took this in stride. It wasn't particularly significant for him, and there wasn't even a bounty on Mizuki for him to collect. However, for the rest of the class, it was astonishing to learn that Naruto had so easily taken down their teacher, who had been a spy and traitor. Once Iruka calmed the class, the final few students completed their tests, and grading wrapped up shortly after. Congratulations to all who passed. We will meet again in 7 days to announce your teams, Iruka declared. Hearing the commotion from his inner world, Naruto got up to leave as the others did and quickly used body flicker to return home for a well-deserved meal and some peace and quiet. In 7 days, he could finally resume his missions. It had been a week since the graduation exam and the events that transpired there. During this time, Naruto had not left his house, dedicating most of his time to honing his sage arts, as he hadn't made much progress over the past 3 years in Konoha due to constant scrutiny. One technique he had perfected was called Sage Arts, Winter Release, the Hunt, which created 100 lifelike wolves made from glacial ice. These wolves could operate independently or as a pack to overwhelm groups of enemies, serving as shock troops to strike first and disorient foes. For the past week, he had focused on controlling the amount of nature chakra he could access at any given moment, making it easier to infuse his jutsu with nature chakra. With 200 clones practicing continuously, he made significant progress, but this also meant his chakra reserves had increased, necessitating further advanced chakra control exercises. On the day of the team announcements, Naruto got out of bed, freshened up, and headed to the academy after securing his home with the protective seal he had created. Arriving early, he settled into his usual spot and began meditating to prepare himself for meeting his teammates. As the classroom filled with graduates discussing the upcoming team assignments, the local fans eagerly hoped to be placed with their idols or crushes. Shortly after all the graduates arrived, Iruka entered and silenced the class with his signature. Good morning, class. Welcome to our final session. Now, without further ado, let's get to the squads, Iruka announced cheerfully. Deciding to ignore the chatter, Naruto continued to meditate until he heard his name or his friends' names called. Alright, here we go. Iruka began. Team 1. Team 2. Team 3, still in rotation. Team 4. Team 5, still in rotation. Team 6. Team 7. Okay, this team consists of Menma Namikaze Uzumaki, Mito Namikaze Uzumaki, Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and finally, Naruto Namikaze Yusu. Before he could finish, a kunai narrowly missed his head, and an icy voice interrupted, causing Iruka to break out in a cold sweat. It is not Namikaze Uzumaki. My name is Kajitsum Naruto, he declared. Okay, Naruto. Iruka responded quickly. Naruto grunted in acknowledgement. Iruka sighed in relief. Let's try this again. Team 7 Menma Namikaze Uzumaki, Mito Namikaze Uzumaki, Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura. True love wins. Sasuke groaned as he finally found himself placed in a team with Naruto, along with their teachers, Kakashi Hatake and Kushina Namikaze Uzumaki. Team 8 consisted of Aburame Shino, Hyuga Hinata, and Inazuka Kiba, led by Kurina Yuhi. Team 10 included Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, and Akimichi Choji, with their teacher Sarutobi Asuma. The other teams were still in rotation. As Naruto heard the team assignments, he felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. He suspected that his parents had orchestrated this arrangement to force him to interact with them, and he knew the civilian council had pushed for him and Sasuke to be on the same team, hoping he would save the Uchiha when the time came. As for how Sakura ended up on the team, it was clear that her mother, a member of the civilian council, had ambitions for her daughter to be close to Sasuke, possibly even to marry him. Now, Naruto found himself stuck on a team where he would likely have to cover for them constantly. Around him, classmates chatted, some excited about their placements while others, like Naruto, were clearly unhappy. After a few minutes, the doors opened, and various Jounin teachers entered to collect their squads. Team 8, follow me please, Kurenai said calmly. Team 10, you're with me, come on, Asuma added. One by one, the teams were called until only Team 7 remained in the classroom. As time passed, the other members of Team 7 grew increasingly frustrated with their late teachers. They are late, Sakura exclaimed, her voice rising in irritation. Shut up, Pinky. We already know that. Hey, servant, go get us something to drink while we wait. Menma snapped. Yeah, go on, servant. Mito chimed in mockingly. Sasuke merely grunted in agreement, though it was unclear to whom he was agreeing. Naruto chose to remain silent, meditating calmly, which only served to irritate his siblings further as they realized he was intentionally ignoring them. He had mastered the art of meditation, making it easy to block out distractions. After another half hour, during which Menma and Mito set traps and blamed them on Naruto, their teachers finally arrived, easily dodging the traps. The two trapmakers could only clench their teeth in frustration. My first impression of you all is that you are quite annoying, Kakashi said, his tone calm. Now, Kakashi, I'm sure they just wanted to impress us. Anyway, meet us on the roof in 5 minutes. Kushina added, her voice calm yet pleased. With that, they both flickered away to the roof, unaware that Naruto was already there, sitting cross-legged and meditating on the fence behind them. After 7 minutes, the other members of Team 7 arrived late, still bickering among themselves. Even Kushina couldn't hide her disappointment at their behavior. She quickly noticed Naruto's absence from the group and began searching for him, only to find him sitting quietly behind her and Kakashi. Despite their arrival, the squabbling continued, and both Kakashi and Kushina grew increasingly annoyed by the blatant disrespect. Shut up! Kushina shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. The group fell silent, startled by her outburst, but they remained standing around like a bunch of fools. What are you all waiting for, an invitation? Sit down so we can get started. You are all shinobi now, not children playing around. Kakashi and I will be working on your discipline from now on. Now, Naruto, please come and join us so we can begin. Naruto simply grunted before using body flicker to take a seat on the benches a bit away from the others. Kakashi and Kushina exchanged glances, knowing it would be a challenge to get him to work well with the rest of the team. Now that we're all settled down, it's time to introduce ourselves, Kakashi said. Why don't you give us an example, teachers? We're not quite sure how to do it, Sakura suggested, her tone questioning. Everyone exchanged odd looks, surprised that she, the supposed smartest kunoichi of their age group, would ask such a thing. Even Naruto raised an eyebrow at her lack of common sense. All right then, my name is Hatake Kakashi. What I like is my business, what I dislike is none of yours, and I have a few hobbies. As for dreams, I've never really thought about it, Kakashi replied, eliciting a mix of confusion and curiosity from the group. My turn then, Kushina said. I am Kushina Namikaze Uzumaki. What I like is my family. She glanced at Naruto, ramen, and being at peace. What I dislike is RPSTS, perverts, and those who abandon their comrades. For hobbies, I enjoy taking walks, spending time with family, and talking to people. My dream is to reunite our family. Naruto shrugged off her reference to him and closed his eyes again, much to Kushina's sadness and his siblings' annoyance. I am next, Menma declared. My name is Menma Namikaze Uzumaki. What I like is my parents and sister, Dango, and being trained by only the best. What I dislike is Naruto, the servant. My hobbies include ordering people around, and my dream is to one day rule over everything. I am next, Mito chimed in. My name is Mito Namikaze Uzumaki. What I like is my parents and only brother, ramen, and getting to boss people around. What I dislike is Naruto, the servant. My hobbies include ordering people like Naruto around, and my dream is to become Hokage. Naruto ignored their antics while Kushina was internally shocked by their words but managed to maintain a fake smile for the sake of her children. Alright, the brooding one is next, Kakashi said, gesturing to Sasuke. Eichen. Sasuke replied, his tone cold and indifferent. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha, and I hail from the prestigious Uchiha clan. I have no particular likes and an abundance of dislikes. My hobbies are not your concern, and my ultimate goal in life is to eliminate a certain individual and restore the Uchiha clan." Upon hearing this, the people present, except for Naruto and Kakashi, flinched. Naruto had experienced much worse during his time as a bounty hunter, and Kakashi simply didn't care. Meanwhile, Kushina felt sadness for the son of her best friend but felt powerless to help, especially since she couldn't even mend her relationship with her eldest child. Kakashi spoke in a calm voice, and finally, "It's your turn now, Naruto." Menma and Mito chimed in mockingly, "We don't need a servant's introduction." Kakashi's voice turned sharp, "That's enough out of you too." Menma and Mito replied arrogantly, "You can't order us. We are the children of prophecy." Kushina, now angry, interjected, "Kakashi." He turned to her. "If they act like this again when I'm not around, feel free to discipline them as you see fit." Menma and Mito gasped, "What? Mom, we are telling Dad." Kushina snapped, "Right now, I am not your mother. You will refer to me as teacher from now on." Menma and Mito muttered incoherently. Kushina demanded, "What was that?" Menma and Mito shook their heads, looking fearful. Kakashi, calm but annoyed, said, "Now then, let's try this again. Naruto, please introduce yourself." Hearing Kakashi speak, Naruto sighed to himself, wishing he could avoid this with all the commotion. Opening his eyes, he looked around and decided to introduce himself to get it over with. Naruto spoke in a calm but cold voice. "My name is Kajizum Naruto. My likes include training, bounty hunting, and talking to my older sister. My dislikes are people who constantly annoy me and the weakness of some of my bounty targets. Hobbies are none of your business, and my dream is to start my own family and establish the Kajizum clan." The majority were surprised, expecting him to give a response similar to Kakashi's. For Sasuke, the mention of bounty hunting stood out, while his siblings thought of ways to hinder his goal of establishing a clan. Sakura was too absorbed in her thoughts of Sasuke to pay attention, and Kakashi noted Naruto's desire to start a family. Kushina, however, focused on Naruto's mention of an older sister, realizing he was referring to her eldest child. It saddened her that Naruto seemed intent on creating his own clan and had no intention of returning to their family. Kakashi, pleased, said, "Well, that was surprisingly informative. Anyway, meet us at Training Ground 3 tomorrow at 5 o'clock for survival training. Oh, and don't eat anything or you'll be regretting it later." Kushina added in a calm but serious voice, "That's all for now. Naruto." Before she could continue, they all noticed Naruto's figure blur before dispersing. It was merely an afterimage. Naruto had already left to prepare for the next day. The following morning at 4 o'clock, Naruto was roof-hopping toward the third training ground, realizing that this survival training was likely a test. As he moved, he pondered the nature of the test and how to succeed. Naruto thought, "This test, what are they basing it on? I guess I should consider this from a new Genin's perspective. This team is unusual, with 5 Genin and 2 Jounins, both quite strong by Konoha standards. Normally, it would be 3 Genin and 1 Jounin as a teacher. If this survival training is a cover, could it be based on a real-world scenario? Of course, Konoha is known for its strong teams, so this test will determine our teamwork. Well, we're in trouble." Realizing the implications of the test, Naruto hurried to the training ground, seeking some peace and quiet before the chaos of the day began. Upon arrival, he found himself alone. After some minor warm-ups, he engaged in physical, technique, and chakra control training to ensure he was fully prepared by the time the others arrived. Once finished, Naruto decided to meditate in a nearby tree with a hollow. Getting comfortable, he closed his eyes and meditated quietly, masking his presence so the others wouldn't disturb him. After half an hour, he sensed 2 chakra signatures, those of the 2 Jounins on the opposite side of the clearing. Setting that aside, he continued to meditate, mixing a bit of nature chakra with his own to further conceal his presence, even from the 2 Jounins. Just in time, the Uchiha siblings arrived, with one of them trying to get Sasuke's attention. After another half hour, Menma and Mito arrived, arrogant and smug, unaware they were being observed the entire time. Seeing the Jounins waiting for him, Naruto decided to body flicker behind his teammates, sitting cross-legged on one of the stumps while still keeping his presence hidden. Moments later, both Jounins body flickered in front of the team, startling everyone. Recovering from the surprise, they protested. Sakura exclaimed, "You're late." Sasuke replied coldly. Menma added arrogantly, "Shut up, Pinky." Mito chimed in, "Yeah, you have no right to talk here, you civilian girl." As Sakura was about to retort, an intense aura of coldness emanated from Naruto, causing even Kakashi and Kushina to shiver. Naruto's voice was deep and cold as he commanded, "Silence. You are being a nuisance. Let the teachers speak and stop this foolishness now. If you continue, I will take matters into my own hands." Kakashi quickly intervened, sensing the tension. Now, Naruto, I'm sure they meant no disrespect." The others could only nod hesitantly, their legs still trembling from the earlier surge of intensity. Sensing the tension in the air, Kushina decided it was time to announce the test. Kushina spoke in a calm voice. "Well, now that everyone is calmed down, let's begin the real genin test, shall we?" Menma, Mito, and Sakura gasped in shock. "Real genin test?" Sasuke merely grunted in response. Kakashi added, "That's right. From this moment until midday, you will have the opportunity to obtain these 3 bells from us using any method necessary, even if it means being a bit ruthless." Sakura's voice trembled with concern. "But you might get hurt, teachers. And there are only 3 bells for 5 of us." Kushina smirked slightly. "Exactly. By the end of today, 2 of you will be heading back to the academy." Everyone except Naruto exclaimed in disbelief, "What?" Kakashi's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Now then, shall we start the test? And begin." At his signal, the fresh genins scattered into the forest, all except for Naruto. Kushina looked at him with concern. "Naruto, why aren't you hiding like the others?" Naruto replied coolly, "Once the rest of them figure out the meaning of this test and stop being so foolishly selfish, maybe I'll join. Besides, after they fail quickly, I'll get my chance to face 2 Jounins for a bit. Now, don't you two have a test to conduct?" Kushina sighed sadly, knowing he had no intention of cooperating with his siblings, while Kakashi narrowed his eyes at Naruto's dismissal of his teammates. Deciding to address him later, both Kakashi and Kushina leaped into the forest. They were surprised to find that Naruto's supposed teammates had effectively sidelined him and Sakura by working together as a trio, ignoring the others. As Naruto anticipated, his siblings attempted to order Kakashi to hand over the bells, which resulted in a swift lesson in taijutsu. Sakura, as usual, was focused solely on Sasuke, who paid her no mind, leading to her being caught in a low-level genjutsu. Sasuke, determined to get the bells, aimed for Kushina and surprised her with a fireball technique. However, it ended quickly as he found himself gasping for air after being hit by a water dragon technique. In just 15 minutes, 4 out of the 5 genins were incapacitated or tied to posts, unconscious. Kushina couldn't hide her disappointment as she looked at her 2 youngest, bound alongside Sasuke. Suddenly, they heard Naruto's calm voice, which they had almost forgotten. "Now that that's finished, I believe we still have a fight to finish. I suggest you 2 get ready, as I'll be taking this seriously." Kushina's voice was filled with concern. "Naruto, please wait. There's no need for this, we already know how strong you are." Naruto interrupted, "Less talking, more fighting." Without another word, he vanished into the forest, performing hand signs for one of his winter-style techniques. Winter style, winter wolves. He summoned 3 icy wolves and sent them into the forest to circle and surprise his opponents. He repeated the process 2 more times, ensuring a constant presence throughout the area. Within 5 minutes, he heard the howls of his wolves and the sounds of battle. He flickered closer to find Kakashi struggling against 6 of the 12 wolves he had created. Sensing Kushina about to confront the other 6, he withdrew them to lure her in for a personal fight. Drawing his Zanpakuto, he pulled the katana from its sheath, placing the handle at the opening before speaking its name. Smother the land. Eternal winter. The blade glowed with an icy blue light, transforming into twin one-handed scythes. He took them and stealthily moved to attack Kushina. Jumping down from above, he swung one scythe toward her neck and the other at her waist, both of which she barely managed to block. Kushina was taken aback by the ferocity of his strikes. Her only thought was to reach Kakashi and team up, realizing that Naruto was serious about this fight. Pushing him back, she rushed toward the sounds of battle. Upon arrival, she saw Kakashi in a tough spot, still battling the wolves and having only managed to destroy two despite the prolonged fight. She prepared her katana and joined him, attacking the wolves while also defending against their counterattacks. Meanwhile, Naruto observed from a branch above, disappointed that she wasn't focusing on him directly. To escalate the fight, as they seemed to be managing, he used another of his winter-style techniques. Winter style, winter winds. A cold wind began to blow in, unnoticed at first due to the chaos of battle. After a few minutes, however, they felt their movements slowing and their attacks weakening as the cold took effect. As they grew weaker, Naruto summoned the remaining 6 wolves to circle the fight and attack when possible, forcing Kakashi and Kushina to fight back-to-back. After 10 minutes of struggle, they managed to destroy the remaining wolves, lowering their guard momentarily. They would soon regret this, as Naruto appeared silently beside them, striking them with his palms and sending them tumbling through the forest. After a few moments, they managed to stand, signaling their surrender, which he reluctantly accepted. Naruto had long since returned his scythes to their sealed form as he walked back to the posts in the center of the training field. Afterward, he and the 2 jounins returned to the rest of the team, who had by now awakened to the sounds of fighting. When the group saw the 2 jounins, they were shocked at how they looked as if they had just come from a fierce battle. Naruto said in a calm voice, "Well, this was boring." Kakashi replied nervously, "Naruto, please give us some time to prepare next time." "But it's not like the enemy will give you one." Naruto responded, maintaining his calm demeanor. Kakashi let out a nervous laugh. "Yeah." Kushina, looking curious, asked, "Naruto, just what was the style you used against us? Please tell us." Naruto paused for a moment before answering, "It's called winter style." Kakashi, intrigued, asked, "Is it a Kekkai Genkai?" "No, it's not," Naruto replied calmly. Kushina pressed, "Naruto, please tell us?" With a sigh, Naruto explained, "It is a water, wind, and lightning Kekkai Toda." An eerie silence followed his revelation. Kakashi and Kushina exclaimed in shock, "What?" Naruto frowned as they practically shouted in his ears. Seeing his expression, the 2 smiled awkwardly, realizing their mistake. Meanwhile, the other genins were left wondering what had just happened. Sakura, curious, asked, Teacher, what's a Kekkai Toda?" Kushina explained seriously, "You see, Sakura, things like the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, and the adamantine chains of the Uzumaki are known as Kekkai Genkai. However, there is another level above it known as Kekkai Toda. Currently, there is only one known Kekkai Toda in the world. That is how rare it is." Sasuke, with an air of arrogance, asked, "And who holds this so-called Kekkai Toda?" Kakashi replied calmly, "The current Tsuchikage, and it's known as the particle style." Sakura was shocked to hear this, while Sasuke brooded over how he could obtain it for his revenge. His siblings felt a twinge of jealousy at the thought of someone having such power. Naruto simply shrugged and turned to leave, but Kakashi called out to him, "Wait, Naruto. Be here at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning for the result of today's test." Naruto nodded before using body flicker to head home. It was now the evening of the test, and the top floor of the Hokage Tower was filled with jounins, all giving the Hokage reports on their teams. Minato sighed as he noted that teams 1, 2, 4, and 6 were returning to the academy with disappointing results. Currently, Sarutobi Asuma was giving his report on Team 10's performance. Team 10, consisting of Yamanaka Ino, Shikamaru Nara, and Akimichi Choji, has passed my test, Asuma stated calmly. Minato asked, "Anything to note?" Asuma continued, As one would expect from the descendants of the Ino Shikacho trio, they complement each other well as a team. However, there are issues. Ino tends to lose focus whenever the Uchiha is mentioned. Shikamaru prefers lying on his back watching clouds rather than training, though he has inherited his father's intelligence. Choji lacks self-confidence and will need serious character-building exercises to tap into his hidden potential. Alright, next. Minato prompted. Kurenai reported. Kurenai Yuhi reporting that Team 8, consisting of Kiba Inuzuka, his partner Akamaru, Hyuga Hinata, and Aburame Shino, passed my test. Minato asked again, anything to note? Kurenai replied, my team can function well as a tracking and potential hunter squad. However, Kiba sees himself as the self-proclaimed leader, which creates tension with Shino, who only speaks when spoken to, potentially leading to misunderstandings during missions. Hinata struggles with self-confidence and will need serious work, as she shows promise but sometimes seems distracted, as if she is searching for someone. Alright, keep me notified on their progress, Minato instructed. Kurenai nodded. Alright, Kakashi, your turn, Minato said, slightly worried. Kakashi began. Team 7, consisting of Uchiha Sasuke, Menma Namikaze Uzumaki, Mito Namikaze Uzumaki, Haruno Sakura, and Kajizum Naruto. I'm unsure. His vague response puzzled everyone in the room, as he was known for being straightforward about team performance. Some speculated that his uncertainty was due to the presence of the Hokage's children in the team. Minato asked, confused, I don't understand. Either they passed or failed. Why are you sounding so unsure? Kakashi sighed and explained, normally, I would fail a team like this even before the test was over, given their lack of respect for us as teachers. Let me start with Menma and Mito. During the test, they showed no regard for their fellow teammates at all. From what I've gathered, they seem to think that being the Hokage's children makes them superior. Everyone was shocked by Kakashi's candid assessment of the Hokage's children. Kakashi continued, during the test, they even demanded I hand over the bells to them. In the field, this attitude could get them killed or worse, kidnapped, as the enemy will not listen to them. They will require serious work to break this misconception. As for Uchiha Sasuke, he has strong skills for a genin, but again, he shows no regard for his teammates. His only focus is revenge, and if he continues down this path, he may become a flight risk in the future. The majority present were taken aback by Kakashi's comments about Sasuke, though some supporters of the Uchiha clan were displeased. However, no one dared to speak out in the presence of the Hokage. Kakashi concluded, as for Haruno Sakura, I'll be honest, as she is now, I don't want her on the team. She is completely obsessed with the Uchiha and shows no worthy skills as a kunoichi. As she is now, she will undoubtedly face danger during a mission outside the village. While she has good chakra control, her limited chakra makes that a minor advantage. Regarding the Uchiha, she has moved beyond being just a fangirl. At this point, she resembles an attention-starved puppy. However, she does possess potential. Most of the more knowledgeable jounin weren't surprised about Sakura, as it was easy to guess who had pushed for her to be on this team and what her purpose was. She certainly wasn't meant to be a kunoichi. As the room quieted, Kakashi decided to continue with the last and most problematic member of the team he had been assigned. He appeared slightly nervous as he began. Kakashi, slightly nervous voice. After some hesitation, finally, we have Naruto. He would be willing to work if he has a competent team. He has strained relations with every member of his current team, but mostly, it stems from the other side. Highly efficient and relentless, Lady Kushina and I were locked in battle with him after the initial test. We weren't even remotely capable of making him take things seriously. As of now, I recommend that the village of Konoha treat him with caution, as he alone has the power to destroy this village and no one, not even Lord Hokage, would be able to stop him. He has no patience for foolishness during missions and briefings and is more than willing to take drastic measures if such things occur. Finally, we discovered that Naruto has. Upon hearing about Naruto's strength, all the jounins and even Minato broke out in a cold sweat. The realization that his own son, whom he had essentially abandoned, was now so powerful that he could annihilate villages was both frightening and awe-inspiring. Ultimately, It made him sad to think about how Naruto now relied solely on his own strength and wanted nothing to do with them. Kakashi's hesitation piqued everyone's curiosity, prompting Minato to urge him to continue. Minato, curious but nervous voice, "Go on, Kakashi." Kakashi, nervous voice, swallows to wet his dry throat. Naruto has been discovered to possess a water, air, and lightning Kekii Toda. He refers to it as winter release, and even now, thinking back to what he is capable of with it. I personally never want to face him seriously, as even that Tsuchikage's Kekii Toda can't compare to how versatile and overwhelming his is. The room fell silent as everyone processed Kakashi's words, and then chaos erupted. Everyone, shocked voice, "What?" Minato, shocked voice, "Kakashi, are you 100% sure of this?" Kakashi, nervous voice, "I am." RJ1, random Jounin, serious voice, "He should be in the Clan Restoration Act. A new Kekii Toda would surely make Konoha the strongest village." RJ2, serious voice, "Absolutely." Before Minato could deny them, Kakashi interjected with a warning. Kakashi, serious voice, "Under no circumstances should you attempt this. The moment you try to force him, he will retaliate with lethal force. Understand this. Naruto has no qualms about what I can gather from his personality regarding eliminating every single person in this room. If we push him, he will retaliate and then leave the village." The Jounins were stunned by Kakashi's words, but Minato felt a deep sadness at what had become of his eldest son. He decided to focus on calming the chaos in the room first. Minato, angry voice, "Silence. Now, Kakashi, continue with your report." Kakashi, calm voice, "For now, that would be the end of my report. As for the team's judgment, I will leave that to you, Lord Hokage." Minato frowned at Kakashi, knowing that whatever choice he made would lead to trouble later with Kushina. Leaning back in his chair, he closed his eyes to think. After a few minutes, during which the various Jounins gave him space, he finally reached a decision. Minato, serious voice, "Silence. Now, Kakashi, here are my orders for you and Kushina's team. Firstly, Naruto will be taken off the team for a while, during which he will take missions from the village at the rank of Jounin." The Jounins were not surprised, as they had already been informed of his strength. Minato, serious voice, "Now, for the rest of Team 7. You and Kushina have my full permission to use whatever means necessary to bring them on track to become a proper shinobi genin team. The methods you choose, whether they are tough or gentle, are up to you and Kushina's discretion. Kakashi, I want you to focus seriously on Sasuke and Sakura, while Kushina will handle our children. I want you to pay special attention to Sakura, as she is currently not even close to being a genin. If she refuses to train properly, take her to the hospital and show her what can happen to girls like her if they are captured." The Jounins in the room were taken aback, as they all knew of the special restricted area of the hospital for captured female kunoichi to recover. Kakashi, nervous voice, "Weiss, Lord Hokage." Minato, serious voice, "Now disperse and keep me updated on your respective team's progress." All the Jounins, respectful voice, "Yes, Lord Hokage." After saluting him, the Jounins left the room to prepare for their respective teams' training starting the next day. Once everyone was gone, Minato got up and used his Hiraishin jutsu to return home, where he would inevitably face his own doom. As the next few hours passed, the only sounds coming from the Hokage's house were his pitiful wails of horror. Scene change. Naruto. Currently, we find Naruto in his personal bath at home, relaxing after another frustrating day dealing with the nuisances of daily life. Naruto, relaxed voice, that feels so much better. Now I wonder what they will decide to do with this useless team." After spending 2 whole hours just relaxing in the bath, he finally got out. After drying off and getting dressed, he prepared some food before heading to bed for the night. As he lay down, he couldn't help but think about the kind of missions he would be undertaking from now on. It was the morning of the following day, and Naruto was taking his time hopping from one roof to another as he made his way to Training Ground 3. A part of him was still unhappy about the team he had been placed on, while another part was simply glad to be on missions again. "Let's hope we can get through these D ranks quickly," Naruto said, his voice calm. About 10 minutes later, he arrived at Training Ground 3 and was surprised to find both Kakashi and Kushina there, along with his entire team. Judging by the expressions on their faces, they were not pleased to be there so early. Good, now that Naruto is here, we can get started, Kakashi said evenly. Why do we have to wait for the servant? Menma and Mito complained in unison. Enough. You will do as you're told from now on. Kushina snapped, her voice firm. Menma and Mito exchanged nervous glances, their bravado fading. Now then, here is the judgment made by the Hokage regarding this team and what will happen from now on. Firstly, Naruto, you will be taken off the team for a while. Kakashi began. We knew the servant wasn't worthy enough to be on the same squad as us. Menma and Mito interrupted, their arrogance returning. Shut up. Interrupt me again, and there will be consequences. Kakashi warned, his voice rising. You can't punish us. You're not worthy enough, they retorted defiantly. Naruto, his expression cold, pulled out his katana. One more word and you'll regret it. Shut up, servant, they shot back, though their bravado was wavering. Smother the land. Eternal winter. Naruto declared, his katana transforming into its Zanpakuto's first form. Naruto, please wait. I will make sure to handle these too, so don't do anything rash. Kushina pleaded, her voice trembling. I've given them enough chances already. They need to learn their place. Naruto replied, his anger palpable. We will ensure they won't cause trouble again, so please, calm down. Kushina urged, desperation in her tone. With a sigh, Naruto returned his Zanpakuto to its sealed state and sheathed it. Fine. Now, Kakashi, continue. As I was saying before I was interrupted, Naruto, you will be off the team for a while. During that time, you can take missions from the Hokage at the rank of Jounin, Kakashi explained, his tone returning to normal. Kushina added, as for the rest of you, you will be divided into two groups. Sasuke and Sakura will undergo intensive training under Kakashi for the next couple of months, while you two, she said, looking at Menma and Mito, will experience rigorous training with me. Your father and I have decided to train you into proper ninjas, regardless of the methods. I will be leaving for a mission then, Naruto declared. Naruto, wait. Kushina started, but he was already gone. A tear slipped down her cheek as she realized her relationship with her oldest son had grown even more distant. She turned to her two youngest and ordered them to follow her for the intense training she had planned. Kakashi sighed as he watched Kushina lead the others away, turning to face his own challenge. All right, both of you will begin with severe body conditioning starting today. Sasuke, you'll need it to handle the strain of your eyes later on. As for you, Sakura, you will immediately stop any form of dieting and eat healthy meals. You will also be doing full body training routines daily and exhausting your chakra whenever possible. But, teacher, Sakura protested. No excuses, Genin. From now on, you will all be shinobi. The time for playing around is over. Now both of you start by giving me 100 laps around this training ground. Move. Kakashi ordered. Sasuke grumbled under his breath, while Sakura nodded nervously. Scene change, Hokage Tower. While the others began their grueling training, Naruto arrived at the Hokage Tower and headed towards the mission room to receive his first official assignment. Upon entering, he saw a large number of scrolls organized by rank. Approaching the counter, he saw the current Hokage, his father, along with some other Jounins. He saluted respectfully before requesting a mission. Ah, Naruto, what kind of mission are you here for? Minato asked, a hint of happiness in his voice. Bounty hunting or extermination mission, Naruto replied calmly. Ah, there is a mission that's perfect for you. In the 3 years you've been away, about 2,500 bandits have formed a stronghold on the far western side of the hidden stone village. This fortress lies within a hidden valley, accessible only through a single tunnel entrance. Multiple attempts to destroy it have failed, and the daimyos have prepared a collective reward for anyone who can complete this mission, Minato explained. Interesting. It seems the bandits have forgotten me. I'll take it, Naruto said, determination in his voice. Great. I will have 2 ANBU accompany you on this mission. Kat and Hayu, you are now under Naruto's command for the duration of this mission. Understood? Minato instructed. The two ANBU, who had appeared silently, nodded and saluted Naruto in response. Prepare your supplies. We leave immediately. It's time the bandits know I'm not gone. Meet me at the western gate in 10 minutes. Naruto commanded. Before Minato could respond, Naruto had already left, using a body flicker to gather his necessary supplies. He quickly made his way to the western gate and waited for the two ANBU to arrive. When exactly 10 minutes had passed, the two ANBU showed up. After a brief nod, Naruto led them westward toward the location of the bandit fortress. Time skipped 2 days. It had been 2 days since they left Konoha, and they were now observing the cave entrance that led to the hidden valley housing the fortress. You two wait here, this won't take long, Naruto instructed, making hand signs. Winter release, winter's birds. Cold air surged from his palms as 20 birds made of glacial ice appeared, flapping their razor-sharp wings to stay aloft. Clear the cave and tunnel beyond. I'll send more soon, Naruto ordered. The 20 birds quickly flew up and circled around the sentries outside the cave. Before the 6 sentries could react, they were swiftly incapacitated, collapsing to the ground. With the sentries outside dealt with, 20 birds quickly took care of those inside the tunnel after being joined by 20 more winter's birds. Once 35 of the birds had dispelled, Naruto knew they were finished as the final 5 remained to ensure no one would come to check on their fallen comrades. Realizing the task was complete, Naruto signaled for the two Umbu to follow him as he moved through the tunnel rapidly, reaching the valley in just 5 minutes. What lay before them was a fully constructed fortress bustling with bandits and rogue shinobi. Seeing this, the two Umbu couldn't help but break out in cold sweat at the daunting mission ahead. Sensing their hesitation, Naruto scoffed and began performing hand signs for his sage art. Calm but serious voice, sage art, winter release, the hunt, sage art, winter release, the hunt, sage art, winter release, the hunt. Now standing before Naruto and the 3 Umbu were 300 winter's wolves, ready for his commands. Calm but serious voice, search and destroy. Preserve the heads in case some have bounties. If you find captives, guard them while others hunt. I will join you soon. The wolves bowed in acknowledgement before splitting into 3 groups and launching their assault from different entrance points. In less than 10 minutes, a chaotic scene unfolded as the wolves overwhelmed the low-ranking bandits and rogue shinobi. Calm but serious voice. You two wait here and guard the exit for any low-rankers, let none escape. The two Umbu nodded, feeling nervous despite their experience. They had good reason to be anxious, as the person before them was systematically dismantling an entire army with an emotionless demeanor. Calm but serious voice. Smother the land. Eternal winter. Benga. Eternal winter storm. Having shifted to his Bankai, Naruto began spinning his dual-headed scythe rapidly as he spoke the technique's name. Calm but serious voice. Let the deep winter descend. Winter's annihilation. As he finished, Naruto pointed one end of his Zanpakuto toward the fortress. A massive cloud of supercooled air descended rapidly, freezing everything it touched. Any bandits or rogue shinobi caught outside were instantly incapacitated, and all of his winter wolves were healed by the cold air. Calm but serious voice. If you do not wish to die, then under no circumstances follow me into the cloud. The two Umbu nodded again, fully aware of their limits. Naruto, no longer concerned for their safety, moved into the cloud and toward the upper levels of the fortress, where he sensed someone was harming his wolves. Upon reaching the uppermost level, Naruto spotted the culprit, a grotesque man with gray threads protruding from stitches across his body. Calm but mocking voice. Looks like a nice fat bounty has delivered itself to me today. Isn't that right, Heart Stealer, Hisu? Calm voice. Winterwolf, not someone I wish to meet right now. You've even taken away my money-making opportunity here. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have money to make. Seeing himself at a disadvantage, Kakuzu prepared to flee, realizing he was surrounded by over 100 winter wolves and faced with the formidable winter wolf bounty hunter. As Kakuzu attempted to escape, Naruto quickly performed hand signs and summoned 20 more winter's birds to attack him. Kakuzu released his strings to counter the birds and wolves but failed to notice Naruto, who used his chakra senses to find and strike 2 of Kakuzu's hearts with precise slashes. Despite his resilience, Kakuzu grunted in pain as he felt 2 of his hearts severely damaged. Naruto aimed to strike a 3rd heart but had to retreat quickly as a barrage of strings erupted from Kakuzu's back, trying to ensnare him. With Naruto momentarily out of reach, Kakuzu used his strength to leap to a safer distance, both of them sizing each other up, neither making the first move. After a brief pause, Naruto decided to take the initiative and unleashed another winter release technique. Serious voice, winter release, winter's shards. Creating a funnel with his hands, he unleashed a powerful hailstorm to pelt and slow Kakuzu while his wolves and birds moved to surround him once again. Kakuzu, noticing the oncoming storm, defended himself with his strings but miscalculated his jump as one of the wolves managed to grab onto his ankle, weakening his escape. Seizing the opportunity, Naruto cancelled his jutsu, drew his Zanpakuto from his back, and swiftly attacked Kakuzu. Utilizing his superior side skills, he overwhelmed Kakuzu and destroyed another of his hearts. Once again in pain, Kakuzu decided to retreat completely. He scattered explosive and flash tags throughout the area before making a hasty escape. Naruto, seeing this, had no choice but to pull back, allowing Kakuzu to detonate the tags and rush toward the tunnel exit, ignoring the 2 Umbu who were still fighting off the last few stragglers from the bandit fortress. When the explosions subsided and the dust settled, Kakuzu had vanished, leaving a frustrated Naruto behind, knowing a significant bounty had just slipped away. Dispelling his wolves and birds, he moved toward the tunnel but paused when he heard faint sounds of people. Listening closely, he identified cries and shouts for help. Cautiously approaching a nearby trapdoor, he opened it to find a group of people, some crying and others shouting for assistance. After ensuring there were no traps, he swiftly descended and began releasing the various prisoners, civilians, merchants, and even nobles from the surrounding countries. There were even a couple of nobles from the Land of Fire who began thanking him profusely after seeing his headband. Quickly silencing the various prisoners, he directed them towards the exit stairs and told them to follow the shadow clone he had created to lead them out. Moving farther back, Naruto came upon a room holding a group of newly captured women who were likely to face a terrible fate that same day. As he approached, Naruto pulled out his Zanpakuto under the frightened gazes of the women, who were astonished when he began cutting the chains that held them captive in that dreadful room. Without saying a word after freeing them all, he simply turned around and left the room, leaving the women in a state of confusion. Once outside, Naruto created 50 shadow clones and ordered them to collect every head of the bandits or rogue shinobi still identifiable and store them in the scrolls he provided. With that task completed, Naruto created 100 more shadow clones to carry the former prisoners and dropped them off at the nearest city. A couple of hours later, all of the former prisoners were safely delivered, and Naruto and the 2 ANBU were on their way back to Konoha. So basically, this will be a Naruto neglect fanfiction with Naruto being the eldest of 3 siblings in the Namikaze Uzumaki clan. In this story, Naruto will be highly intelligent, comparable to the Nara clan, but no one will recognize this as everyone either scorns or ignores him. His name will be Kajizum Naruto. For clothing, Naruto will not wear the traditional orange jumpsuit. Instead, he will wear a more fitting outfit that reflects his character. His hair will remain yellow with blue-white tips, and his eyes will be a deep blue. His attire will feature a wolf's head design, with scroll pouches instead of kunai on his belt. He will wield a katana, which is no ordinary blade. It was once known as a Zanpakuto, crafted by the ancient Uzumaki clan as soul-bound weapons. Over time, fewer Uzumaki children were able to acquire them, and the art was eventually lost, leaving only one blade that has been shown to Naruto, allowing him to awaken his ancient powers. A Zanpakuto has 3 forms. The first is its sealed form, like the one described. The second is its first release, Shurikai. And the third is its second release, Bankai. Each Zanpakuto has its own name and personality, yet they are still part of their owner, working together in both combat and daily life. The name of Naruto's Zanpakuto is Ayan no Fuyu, Eternal Winter, and its Bankai release is called Ion no Fuyu no Erasure, Eternal Winter Storm. Naruto's Zanpakuto spirit has a unique appearance due to special circumstances. As for his ninja skills, he has inherited abilities from an ancient wolf that called to him from the same place where he found his Zanpakuto. This ancient wolf, known as Immortal Zurius, Wolf of the White Winter, is a master of Sage Mode. Naruto has learned the essential ninja skills from the academy, including shuriken and kunai handling, as well as swordsmanship. He has also mastered ninjutsu techniques of water, wind, and lightning. Immortal Zurius guided Naruto before their eventual separation, helping him become a master of sealing beyond both his father and mother to fulfill his greatest wish. He also taught Naruto to control and master his unique form of Kekiai Toda, known only to them as Winter Release. Naruto possesses a personal form of sage arts that are always active, with markings from his sage mode that reflect his connection to the ancient wolf. Upon hearing a scream, many nearby students fainted in fear, and even the Hokage rushed over with his ANBU guards to investigate the commotion. When he arrived, he was met with a shocking sight. A fragment of Orochimaru's soul had revealed itself from the nearly completed transfer seal.